Hey, Cam.
Hello.
Welcome back to the MCG.
Cam, we have been working with you, alongside you, collaboratively for some time now, and we love working with you. And sometimes the work that you do is behind the scenes, and people don't really get to meet you and know you and understand the incredible human that you are, for the role that you play in the development of our programs that are award winning. So we just wanted to do a Cam, what do you love about working with us, and why do you do the work that you do?
Yeah, I have a big personal drive. There's the lived experience pieces. There's the thing I think that everyone working in the space has some connection to the issue. I have that, but I think on top of that, I'm addicted to storytelling. And I see this as a story that's broken. And I see this as a story that the right people in the right place who are affected by it can really help to change. And I think that was what you invited me into the first time in the training room. I think there was meeting you and getting pulled up on and going, let's joke with Cam, let's have a bloke in the room talk about this issue in a different way. And then I think about the way that if we get those people who are affected by the issue in front of the right people, magic happens. Because if we treat it as traditional training, if we treat it as a traditional response, people tick, 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 we ignore it again. And it becomes like sexual harassment training has been, where it's a bit of a joke for a lot of people in the workplace, as opposed to something that can truly save and protect or make someone's life better. So I'm really inspired. I think when I went, okay, so we've got to sit down and I can use my film background and virtual reality and all of that. We could do anything, but it was the three of you that went, what if we approach this in this kind of way, in this trauma-informed way, which means, and you explained that to me and taught me through a lot of that I could then make sense of from my work in mental health and my work in other areas. So it's a very long answer to a short question, but I think the magic for me comes between lived experience and frontline expertise mixed with how do we make this look beautiful? How do we make this engaging? And how do we shake it up? And I think that's what I love the most about it is I'm getting challenges from your team all the time about how do we make this more engaging? How do we make sure that this is living? How do we make sure that this is beautiful? And then my team can push back and go, okay, well, how do we make it short and snappy? How do we make it flow? How do we make it so that it's not just traditional with the small budgets that we have in the space?
Yeah, look, for me, this is technology and innovation for good. It's we're talking about digital violence, and we're talking about being in a new world online and what that looks like. And for me, this work is critical, and it also takes that innovation and that technology to the next level. And you're talking about the old style, and I was actually at a networking meeting yesterday talking about how exciting it is for the work that we're developing for e-learning, and the way that we can use that digital innovative world for good and actually have a significant impact. Could you just tell us give our viewers some insights into how that technology has shifted from the old style learning to the new?
Yeah, I think the old style comes from a very real desire to want to know that people know things. It's this idea that we have to measure that you've done the training and you've understood it. And what we're realizing now is that awareness is everywhere. We're seeing it on social media, we're seeing it, and what the new style is really about is how quickly can we get you to a story from someone who can give you advice, who is either in a position or has been in a position you're about to be in. That's what I call like living experience, but not necessarily survivor experience. And then how can we mix that with film, with TV, with all these techniques that have been around for a while, but haven't been thrown at the e-learning space. And I think the challenge I'd love to put to some people is how can we then shake it up from there? How can we break this apart and challenge what e-learning can be? And I really, really love that when we work on projects, and some of the ones I think that are getting a bit of recognition at the moment have come from the space where people have trusted us together to just try something different. Same outcomes. We are measured by the same outcomes, that people know the thing at the end of the education period. However, what that period might be, what that setup might be, if they trust people who have been there and who are gathering this living experience, then we can do something magic.
As a guy who's probably working in a non-traditional setting like myself, how have you sat with that experience, and what's that been like for you? Probably, I'm thinking actually it's been almost close to the 10 years that we've worked together for. What's that been like for you, coming from a tech corporate and from a media world, which probably reinforces, unfortunately, a lot of those gender stereotypes?
It's been really interesting because the number one thing I get congratulated on is being a guy working in the space before anything else happens.
Good job.
I walk into a room and people are like, oh, I'm so excited that there are men or a man here.
Yeah.
And I find that infuriating and frustrating, but also it's affirming that at least showing up is a bare minimum, which is nice.
Cat loves that one.
Yeah.
It's Cat's favorite.
But I think it's also helped me have a better relationship with my own masculinity, with my own approach to things, to throwing that masculinity away when I need to, and all of those sorts of beautiful, wonderful bits. But I think it's shown me what leadership and those sorts of things could look like. There's so many different areas, but I think when I think about sitting behind the lens, the biggest thing has been coming to terms with the fact that all of my training and the work that I've done is often I'm not the right person to ask the question, which is really tough when you're sitting there going, I look and sound like the person that has caused violence to happen to this person. And for me to dig into their past and to help them open up may not be safe. Regardless of how good I am at that, I need to work with people and embrace that someone else who does not look and sound like me needs to lead this part. It's been interesting as an ex-theatre kid, ex-performer person who has earned a living from being in front of the camera or on stage to embrace stepping back and setting other people up to do that and to trust as well when you're building a small business and you're trying it on your own rather than being in the corporate setting where you're free to fail as a man. Often, I don't know if women get as much leeway with that, to then kind of go, okay, I think for my baby and for my, my belief that putting cameras and putting interactive experience in the right place for that to succeed relies less on my skills and my ability to find the right people to work with, which is confronting when it's you for your living and your mortgage.
Yeah.
But it's good.
If you were to have like a dream or a hope or a goal that if I do this, if I leave this behind, if I leave this legacy, what's that for you?
It's something we talked about years and years and years ago, which is that every bank, fish and chip shop, 9 to 5, there is a symbol on the wall that lets you know that they have done the right amount of education and that they are aware that they will be able to help you if you're experiencing. They will also be able to be a place of safety if you work there. And that for their customers, for anyone, that comes from a level of education and awareness. And then I think on top of that, I would love to see this not talked about as a compliance topic, but when it becomes a core leadership skill. If there's a legacy I could leave behind in that space, it is that anyone who is in charge of another person who has to deal with flexible time, with pay, with leave, is expected to be able to have this conversation and knows how to do it and is doing regular education to get better at it as a core skill.
Cam, tell us something we don't know about you.
Oh, geez. The nerdiness comes to mind. When I was 8 years old, I was the second best Pokemon player in Australia. And
Only the second.
Only the second. I got beaten. I got beaten by a 19-year-old, and I still to this day still hurts.
Still hurts. Sorry, mate.
And I think that it's something with playfulness. I think I often have to be very serious in the work, but I'm a massive nerd, and I love all things to do with games and play. And I think that's something that I would actually like to bring more into the work.
I love it.